I'm an urban explorer, a modern-day roamer, if you will. Been doing this since my 21st birthday, thanks to my best friends Nick and Joe introducing me to the vast underground network of abandoned tunnels that covers almost all of London. There hasn't been a moment of my free time that I haven't spent in that darkness. To me, the grime and the filth and the decay are a testament of history. We as explorers get the chance to step backward into time and see forgotten parts of our civilization when we do. It's beautiful and haunting. It's a part of me that I never thought that I would need to give up. But then Nick had an accident. One dive into a twisting part of a railway tube that had been closed off for the greater part of 30 years led to him being trapped under debris for almost 6 hours. We had to contact paramedics to come down there and to pry him out, which was a whole other ordeal. They managed to get him out, but also fined him for unauthorized entry into a quarantined area. He lost both of his legs and all of his dignity. Needless to say, he was never the same after that. Joe said after that he didn't have the drive for exploration anymore. I know we have always respected the fact that this stuff is dangerous, but man, seeing what happened put things into perspective for me. I have a wife now, a kid on the way. I don't think I'll be going down there again, he admitted. Gradually, I moved on as well, trying to forget about that part of my life. It's hard though, to give up something that you love. I realized just a few weeks back that I still hadn't forgotten because I saw a flyer on one of the side rails leading into the tube that instantly sparked my interest. For the unsuspecting passerby, it likely looked just like a dozen other adverts that covered these subway walls like graffiti. But I recognized the telltale signs of urbex. There is a picture of one of the abandoned stations that I had visited before, followed by an enticing offer to participate in a scavenger hunt for a prize. Come to this location for more details, the message read. The prize was said to be at least 20,000 quid, a pretty penny in these trying times to say the least. I decided to check it out that day after work. Getting there was half the battle. I had to get off at a station alone, and had to bribe one of the railway officers to let me go anyway. Ain't nothing down that way. You'll just be going in circles, mate, he told me. Then it's my money to waste, isn't it? I told him. I wanted to give myself a boost of confidence to keep going. Part of me actually wondered if this was some sort of scam, but another part of me suspected that this was likely a game runner for an internet sensationalist, and that made me even more interested. These sorts of puzzles were what attracted me to the intrigue of urban exploration in the first place. Soon, I was in the abandoned station. It was amazing to me to see how quickly the contrast between the orderly and modern tube and this old tunnel. I was back to my old roots. I walked a ways further, my smartphone casting light into the gloom as I made my way up to the platform. In ages gone by, a subway trolley would have picked up passengers here, but now it was only covered in trash and decay. Then I heard a noise. "Who goes there?" I said instinctively, shining my light toward the sound. a younger woman raised her hands up defensively. "Don't shoot," she shouted. And then she saw that I wasn't a cop and commented, "Oh, you must be here because of the flyer too." I relaxed a bit, realizing she was an explorer like me, and commented, "Are we the only ones here?" "So far, and I've been trying my best to find this first clue, but so far, all I've found is dusty footprints," she said, shining her own phone near the part of the platform where she had been standing. "Those look pretty old, but maybe the hunt isn't about finding items. Maybe we have to take pictures of things and then send them to that QR code," I suggested. I showed her that I had taken a picture of the flyer and explained, "That little square at the bottom takes you to this supposedly blank website. But I bet if we uploaded a picture that we made it here, maybe it would supply us with the next clue." "That's pretty smart," she said. We did it, and just as I had anticipated, our next location popped up. This one didn't look familiar at all. In fact, it looked a lot more ancient than where we stood now. "Oh, that's not far from here, but we will have to do a bit of splunking," the girl said, and offered me her hand and said, "I'm Claire, by the way. I guess we are partners in this mess now." "Jessica," I offered back as I checked my battery life. I hadn't anticipated being down here so long, perhaps hoping the next hunt site would be in a different tunnel entirely, and I started to inwardly panic. Flashbacks of Nick popped into my head as well. I didn't want to wind up down here with no chance of rescue. No one would even know I was here, I thought anxiously. But the intrigue of this mysterious game was too interesting, so I let my judgment lapse and followed Claire toward an open hole in the desolation. "It's a long way down, Jess. Buckle up," she advised as she tied the rope to a piece of old steel and shimmied down into total darkness. I slid my phone into my pocket and wrapped the rope around my waist to get down as well, trying my best to not be concerned that I was being led into a pit by a complete stranger. "I've done this 1,000 times before with Nick and Joe," I told myself as I tried to see where I was going. But it wasn't possible. I felt like the void was going to last forever. And then I had the brilliant idea to try and use my phone for light again. That was sarcasm, because as I reached for it, my cell fell down below, and I heard it snap in half on the concrete. "Claire, I hope that didn't hit you," I said as I hurried down to find her. But there was no response. I stood there in the dead silence and waited to see if she would respond after a few more calls. And then in front of me, her smartphone lit up and I held my breath. Someone had knocked her out, leaving the stranger in a crumpled mess with her phone trying to dial 911. Except that I soon saw there was no signal down here. I took the phone and used it to look around, desperate to see if I could identify Claire's attacker. All I could see was a figure, standing at least 6 feet tall in the gloom. It was enough to make me scream in shock as I decided to run. Immediately though, I second-guessed that plan. If I went further down this path, I had no idea if I would ever get out again. I turned around to face the stranger and decided to try and bluff my way out. "Don't come any closer. I have a weapon," I shouted. All I heard in response was laughter. And then I realized that the shadowy figure was not alone. First, I saw two tall shadows moving forward, and then that split apart, and I realized that there was at least half a dozen tall men. They circled Claire's body, and I watched in paralyzed fear as they tried to come toward me. My only option was to hide. I turned off her phone immediately and felt around the corridors of the tunnel until I found a bit of debris to crouch under. I could hear them talking amongst themselves, a dastardly plan being revealed as they talked about us. "How many others did you see?" one man asked gruffly. "I saw a girl go this way, but she might have gone into the next tunnel. It's a maze down there," the second said. "Dang it. We need to get this supply back to the boss by nightfall." "Well, we should get cover again. There might be other people coming down here from the flyer," the first man said. "Take the one out the back way. I'll keep searching. We need to make sure that blood is cleaned up before the next batch comes in," the third man said. I held my breath. They were going to take Claire, and if they found me, likely do the same. Possibly to be sold off into something the way that they were talking. It made me sick to my stomach to imagine that they used the hobby that I loved to trap people just like me. I placed my hands down on the ground, searching in the darkness for something to defend myself with, and I finally grabbed a hold of a sharp rock. And then my other hand touched one of the men's boots. I froze, hoping that maybe he wouldn't realize that it was me below in the shadows. "Hey, I found her," he shouted. Instantly, I struck, slamming the rock against his leg. "You son of a..." I crawled up from my hiding spot and kept the rock in my hands, watching as several men ran toward me with large searchlights on their waists to guide them. They came here expecting untrained and innocent tourists. It was now my chance to rescue Claire and show these idiots a thing or two. I kept the rock close to my face and swung my fist randomly, jabbing and bashing against them as I kept running toward Claire. Truth be told, in the darkness I had no clue where I was going, or what I was even hitting. I kept hearing them shout and cuss as I didn't stop swinging. My mind flashed into Nick and wondering what he would do if he were here. Then the last one fell, and I used their searchlight to find Claire. Carrying her close to me, I looked toward the cramped entrance where the men had come from, and started to limp with her body weight against me. The next corridor was even more run down than where we had been trapped at, a slope of trash and debris that had clearly been sliding downward for years. It looked like it was about to cave in. I carefully held on to my new friend as we climbed, holding the phone out in front of me for light and hoping to get a signal. Then finally, a single bar showed up, and I made a call to emergency services. "What is your emergency?" the paramedics asked. "Hello? Hello. My friend and I are trapped in the London tubes, deep under the city. I don't know where we are," and I paused as I pushed for the GPS location and I sent it to the authorities. "I've sent you our location. There are people here trying to hurt us. Please hurry," I said. I heard behind us the men starting to wake up and come towards us. I couldn't stop climbing. I couldn't look back. We actually didn't meet the police until we arrived at the main subway. They couldn't find a way down. We had come out through an old sewer line. Altogether, there were 6 men they arrested, all connected to these same disappearances, just like I had suspected. I have no idea how many people they managed to capture before we came along, but sometimes when I'm traveling across London, I will see those flyers and it fills me with rage. I toss them and shove it under my boot. But I know that it may never be enough.